A long, long time ago, there was a deep forest named Chayabon. The forest was lush green, vibrant with the calls of birds and animals. In this forest lived a wise banyan tree. He was thousands of years old. Everyone in the forest called him Grandpa Banyan. He would listen to the joys and sorrows of all the animals and birds and offer them advice. In this same forest lived a tiny bird named Meenu. Meenu was one of the smallest creatures in the forest. She often felt sad. When she saw the lion, Gorgon, the king of the forest, walking with such courage, or the elephant, Bishal, effortlessly uprooting large trees with his massive body, or the peacock, Rongin, dancing with its feathers spread, Meenu felt very insignificant. She would think, I am so small. What value does my life have? I can't run fast, I can't roar, and I can't even sing beautifully. One day, with a heavy heart, Meenu came and sat on a branch of Grandpa Banyan. Grandpa Banyan asked her in the gentle rustle of his leaves, "What's wrong, Meenu? Why does your face look so gloomy?" Meenu burst into tears and said, "Grandpa, I have no value in this forest. Everyone else is so big, so strong, so beautiful, and I am just a tiny bird. I am of no use to this forest." Grandpa Banyan smiled. His voice was soothing. He said, "Meenu, strength is not in size, but in determination. Every creature on this earth has a special purpose. You have one too. You will understand it when the time comes." Meenu didn't fully understand his words, but she found some comfort in what Grandpa Banyan said. A few months later, a terrible drought fell upon Chayabon. Not a single drop of rain fell from the sky. All the rivers, streams, and waterfalls in the forest dried up. The green leaves turned yellow and began to fall. Animals and birds started suffering from thirst. The forest lost its beautiful form. One day, all the animals of the forest gathered under Grandpa Banyan. They were all pleading for their lives. Grandpa Banyan closed his eyes and meditated for a while. Then he said, "Listen, residents of the forest, there is only one way to survive this drought. On the northern border of this forest, there is a high mountain called Cloud Touch, Megchon. On its peak blooms a magical flower called the Life Giver, Sanjeevani. If just one drop of its nectar can be put into our dried-up main river, this forest will live again." Hearing this, everyone fell silent because Cloud Touch Mountain was terrifying. Its path was treacherous and its weather was hostile. Gorgon, the Lion King, stepped forward and said, "I will go. That mountain is nothing before my strength." Bishal, the elephant, said, "All stones will be crushed under my feet. I will be the one to succeed." Bidyut, the fastest deer in the forest, said, "I will reach there in the blink of an eye." But little Meenu just stood in a corner thinking. The next morning, the lion, the elephant, and the deer began their journey. Gorgon, the lion, went some distance and found the path was too narrow for his large body to pass. He gave up and returned. Bishal, the elephant, started breaking rocks with his strength, but when the landslide began from the peak, he got scared and returned. Bidyut, the deer, went a long way with his speed, but he came to a massive chasm that was impossible for him to leap across. He too returned in failure. A deep despair fell over the forest. Everyone assumed that there was no hope left for their home. It was then that Meenu the bird broke the silence. She flew and sat before Grandpa Banyan. She said, "Grandpa, I want to try." Everyone laughed hearing her. The lion said, "Where we failed, what can you, a tiny bird, possibly do?" Meenu didn't reply. She just looked at Grandpa Banyan. Grandpa Banyan said, "Go, Meenu. Your size may be small, but if your goal is unwavering, no mountain is too high." Meenu spread her tiny wings and flew towards Cloud Touch Mountain. Her path was not easy. When she reached the mountain, she saw the narrow path where the lion had been stuck. For her, it was no obstacle at all. She easily flew through it. When she reached the place where the elephant had stopped, she saw rocks falling, but she was so small and agile that she slipped through the gaps between the rocks and continued upwards. Finally, she reached the great chasm from where Bidyut the deer had returned. To Meenu, it was no chasm at all. She crossed it in a single flight. But the real test was ahead. As she neared the summit, a fierce blizzard and snowfall began. Meenu's tiny body was being tossed around like a straw in the wind. Her wings were freezing in the ice. She was about to give up. But just then, the faces of the thirsty animals of Chayaban flashed before her eyes. She remembered Grandpa Banyan's words, "Strength is in determination." Meenu gathered all her strength. Instead of fighting the wind, she used its currents, weaving and dodging through it. She turned her small size into her advantage. Where large birds would be trapped in the storm, she could slip through the smallest gaps. Finally, after a long, exhausting journey, Meenu reached the summit. There, shining alone amidst the snow, she saw the bright blue Sanjeevani flower. With her tiny beak, Meenu collected a single drop of its nectar. The journey back was even harder, but now her heart was filled with hope. She knew she had to make it. With her weary body, she somehow managed to fly back to Chayaban. All the animals of the forest watched in amazement as Meenu returned. Meenu flew straight to the source of the dried-up river. From her beak, that single drop of Sanjeevani nectar fell on the dry earth. Instantly, a miracle happened. A stream of water burst forth from the ground. The dry river filled with water again. Wherever that water flowed, the dead plants turned green again. The animals of the forest drank the water and quenched their thirst. Chayaban was given a new life in an instant. All the animals of the forest, the lion, the elephant, the deer, the peacock, cheered for Meenu. They understood that today their strength, size or beauty had been of no use. What had worked was the indomitable willpower and determination of the forest's smallest bird. Grandpa Banyan placed Meenu on his branch and said, "See, Meenu, didn't I tell you, you are not small. Today, by saving this forest, you have proven that nothing in this world is impossible if your determination is strong. Your size or capability doesn't matter. Your willpower is your true identity." Today, Meenu understood that she might be small, but she was not insignificant. Moral of the story: motivation. Never think of yourself as small or incapable. Whatever your situation may be, if you have strong determination and unwavering belief, you too can overcome any great obstacle. True strength lies not in the body, but in the mind.